You are shaken too easily by people's insults, by their rejection, by their betrayal. And because of this, you remain weak in a world that rewards strength. Today, we solve this problem. Today, I will teach you how to become untouchable, so that nothing and nobody will ever affect you again. I am Niccolò Machiavelli, and my task has always been to show men the world as it is, not as they wish it to be. If you want to command life, you must first command yourself. In this lesson, I will show you the 6 principles that will make you untouchable, immune to insults, betrayal, manipulation, and disappointment. When you master these, the storms of men will rage, but your spirit will remain unshaken. Listen closely. The greatest prison a man can live in is not made of walls or iron bars. It is built from the opinions of other men. You rise when they applaud you, and you collapse when they condemn you. And because of this, you are never truly free. You are like a puppet, dancing when they pull the strings, laughing when they cheer, and weeping when they turn their backs. Do you not see how fragile this makes you? You surrender your strength every time you allow their words to decide your worth. Understand this: the applause of the crowd is as dangerous as their insults. Praise may seem sweet, but it is poisoned with expectation. When men shower you with admiration, they bind you to their approval. You begin to crave it, to shape yourself around it, to seek more of it. And when it disappears, as it always does, you are left hollow, wondering why the same voices that once raised you up have now abandoned you. Do not deceive yourself. What they give you is not love. It is dependence, and dependence is weakness. The wise man does not rise with praise, nor does he fall with blame. He sees both for what they are, fleeting winds of opinion that shift with the times, with moods, with self-interest. Today, they admire you because you serve them. Tomorrow, they will curse you when you no longer fit their needs. And if your worth is tied to their shifting breath, you will never possess yourself. You will be forever at the mercy of others, chained by their voices. Think of the great rulers of history. Do you believe they built their empires by living for the approval of men? No. They understood that the love of the people is unstable, and the hatred of enemies is inevitable. What mattered was not being adored or despised, but being in command of themselves, of their vision, of their destiny. They took both praise and blame as dust upon their garments, brushing it off without concern, for they knew that the world admires today what it destroys tomorrow. You must train yourself in the same way. When someone praises you, do not let your heart leap. Let it pass through you, as air passes through the leaves of a tree. Do not build your identity upon their compliments, because they are not given out of truth. They are given out of interest. When they flatter you, they want something from you. When they exalt you, they are preparing to use you. The man who swells with pride at flattery will inevitably suffer when the same tongues spit venom. But the man who remains unmoved is beyond their reach. And when they blame you, when they insult you, when they conspire to drag your name through the mud, let it weigh no more upon your soul than a shadow passing over the ground. Why should their words wound you unless you grant them power? Their insults are not chains unless you choose to wear them. Their scorn is not a dagger unless you choose to hand them the blade. A man who has detached himself from the judgment of others becomes invulnerable, for he understands that the mob speaks from weakness, not truth. The real battle is within yourself. You must silence that part of your mind that hungers for recognition, that aches for validation. This hunger is the leash by which the world controls you. When you master it, when you no longer require the nods of approval or the whispers of admiration, then you step into true strength. Then, no betrayal can shake you. No insult can break you, no rejection can unmake you. For the fortress of your spirit will no longer have doors through which their words may enter. Detach yourself from both praise and blame, and you will taste freedom. You will not be intoxicated when they cheer, nor broken when they curse. you will be as unshaken as the stone towers that endure both sun and storm. This is the discipline of a ruler, the shield of a strategist, the armor of the strong. Every man wears a mask, and the greatest mistake you can make is to believe that the mask is the truth. Look around you. Friends smile, allies nod, enemies flatter. But beneath every gesture, every word, every glance, there is a reason, a motive. And if you fail to see the motive, you will forever be deceived by the face. Do not misunderstand. Men are not honest creatures of pure intention. They are creatures of interest. Even when they claim loyalty, even when they proclaim love, even when they kneel in respect, their hearts are guided not by honor, but by what they can gain. The merchant bows to the wealthy, not out of reverence, but out of profit. The courtier flatters the prince, not because he admires him, but because he seeks his favor. The friend consoles you in sorrow, not out of pure compassion, but because one day he hopes you will return the gesture. To see only the surface is to live in illusion. To see the motive is to live in truth. Think of betrayal. Why does betrayal hurt? Because you believed the mask, not the motive. You thought a smile meant loyalty. You thought kind words meant devotion. You thought proximity meant safety. But if you had trained yourself to pierce the mask and examine the motive, you would not be surprised when the knife entered your back. You would not feel broken when the hand that once embraced you now strikes you. You would have already seen it coming, and what is expected does not wound. The wise man studies behavior not for beauty, but for purpose. When someone approaches him with gifts, he does not marvel at the generosity. He asks, what do they want in return? When someone offers flattery, he does not let his pride grow fat. He asks, what advantage do they seek in this praise? When someone grows close, he does not blindly welcome them. He asks, what interest ties them to me? And what interest will one day pull them away? In this way, he is never disarmed by disappointment, because he never armed himself with illusions in the first place. This vision, this ability to see motives, frees you from weakness. If you see the world through faces, then betrayal, insult, and abandonment will crush you again and again. But if you see the world through motives, then betrayal is nothing more than the natural fulfillment of someone's interests, and it does not injure you. It confirms what you already knew. You stop asking, why did they hurt me? And begin saying, of course, this is who they are. And when you see it that way, their actions lose their power to shake you. Understand also that motives are not always malicious. Sometimes they are merely selfish. A man may support you because your rise benefits him. A woman may admire you because your strength makes her feel secure. An ally may fight beside you because your enemy threatens him as well. But if one day the balance shifts, if one day your success threatens his survival, or your power overshadows his own, then his motive will turn, and so will his loyalty. It is not betrayal. It is the inevitable law of interest. Those who are shocked by such shifts are those who believed in faces instead of studying motives. This discipline demands that you sharpen your sight beyond the surface. It requires that you learn to look at every action as a transaction. Why does he speak those words? Why does she stand so near? Why do they offer their help? The answers will always lead back to interest. And once you see it, you cannot be fooled. A compliment no longer blinds you. A promise no longer binds you. A smile no longer weakens you. For you know that behind the appearance lies the true engine of human behavior, self-preservation and gain. When you learn to see motives and not faces, you will walk through life with a cold clarity that few possess. Where others are shocked, you are prepared. Where others feel wounded, you remain calm. Where others collapse under the weight of disappointment, you continue forward unshaken. Because you never built your trust on illusions, and you never anchored your security in the unstable affections of men. You trained yourself to see what truly moves them, and in doing so, you took away their power to hurt you, The greatest battlefield is not the court, nor the marketplace, nor even the field of war. It lies within your own mind. Every insult that stings, every rejection that weakens you, every betrayal that shatters you, all of it is magnified by the story you tell yourself about what happened. The event itself is often small, a fleeting act, a word thrown carelessly into the air, but the echo inside your mind makes it larger, heavier, unbearable. This is why men fall not from what others do to them, but from how they speak to themselves afterward. When someone mocks you, what destroys you is not their laughter, it is your inner voice whispering. Perhaps they are right. When someone abandons you, what crushes you is not their absence. It is your own mind saying, "I was not enough." When someone betrays you, what devastates you is not their treachery. It is the story you create. I was blind. I was foolish. I was unworthy of loyalty. Do you see? You become your own executioner. Their action strikes you once, but your inner dialogue strikes you 1,000 times after. If you would be untouchable, you must seize command of this voice. You must become its master, not its victim. You must train it as a ruler trains an army. Discipline it, shape it, bend it to your will. For if you let it run wild, it will drag you into weakness. But if you take control of it, it becomes the strongest weapon you possess. Consider this: two men are insulted. One crumbles, retreating into shame, hearing the insult replay in his mind until it becomes a truth. The other stands unmoved, not because the words were different, but because he told himself a different story. He heard the insult and his mind replied, "This is envy, not truth. This is weakness, not power." The same event, yet two different outcomes, because one man let his inner voice betray him, while the other commanded his own narrative. Your mind is a court, and your inner dialogue is the judge. But you, and you alone, decide what evidence it accepts. You decide whether an insult becomes a dagger or a feather. You decide whether rejection becomes humiliation or redirection. You decide whether betrayal becomes devastation or education. The world cannot decide this for you, and the men around you cannot force you into weakness unless you surrender to your own voice. Do not misunderstand. This is not about blind optimism or sweet illusions. It is about cold control. If someone betrays you, do not say it means nothing. That is a lie. Instead, shape the truth to serve you. Say, this is proof of their motives, a reminder that trust must always be measured. I have gained knowledge, and knowledge is power. If someone rejects you, do not say, I do not care, while secretly bleeding inside. That is self-deception. Instead, say, their rejection reveals their lack of vision. It exposes who is unworthy of my time. Their absence creates space for my strength. This is not weakness disguised as strength. It is strength crafted deliberately from what would have been weakness. The mastery of your inner dialogue does not make you blind to wounds. It makes you sovereign over them. You will still face insults, betrayals, rejections, disappointments, but they will no longer decide the fate of your spirit. You will hear the sting, you will feel the weight, but then you will reshape it in your mind before it can take root. You will strip it of its poison and turn it into discipline, knowledge, or silence. And in doing so, you deny your enemies the victory they seek. Control this voice, and you will find that most of the power others hold over you dissolves. The sneer of the envious becomes proof of your rise. The betrayal of an ally becomes a lesson in foresight. The insult of a fool becomes a reminder of your superiority. They strike at you, but the blade turns in your hands, and you leave stronger than before. For the battlefield of the mind is the only place where no one can enter without your consent, and if you learn to rule it, you will never again be ruled by others. Men spend their lives chasing the affection of others, and in this pursuit they make themselves slaves. They yearn to be loved, to be accepted, to be embraced by the crowd, by their friends, by their family, by their companions. But affection is as unstable as the sea. It rises in waves and crashes in storms. One day, you are the object of their admiration, and the next, you are forgotten, replaced, even despised. If you live for affection, you will live in chains, because your worth will forever depend on forces outside of your control. Understand this truth: affection is never pure. Men do not love you for who you are, but for what you give them. They love the comfort you provide, the usefulness you represent, the strength they can lean upon, the resources you share. Remove these, and their love evaporates. Affection is selfish in its nature. It survives only as long as it benefits the one who gives it. If you do not recognize this, you will be wounded again and again, wondering why those who once swore loyalty now abandon you without hesitation. Power, on the other hand, is not fleeting. Power is not dependent on moods, whims, or the fragile feelings of others. Power is rooted in control of yourself, control of resources, control of influence, control of outcomes. When you possess power, you command respect even from those who despise you. They may not love you, but they cannot ignore you. They may not embrace you, but they cannot escape you. Power bends men to your will, while affection bends you to theirs. Ask yourself, do you want to be loved, or do you want to be obeyed? Do you want to be embraced, or do you want to be remembered? A man who builds his life upon affection must constantly beg for approval, trimming his words, shaping his actions, softening his strength so that others do not withdraw their warmth. He becomes a servant to feelings he cannot control. But a man who builds his life upon power walks freely, for he knows that love may vanish but strength endures. He does not chase affection. Affection chases him, drawn to the gravity of his dominance. Look at history. The rulers most praised in their own time are often the weakest remembered in ours. They lived for affection, giving men what they wanted, and in doing so, they left no lasting strength. But those who pursued power, who cared little for being loved and much for being feared, carved their names into stone. For men may resent power, but they respect it. They may not sing its praises, but they bow before it when it confronts them. You must train your mind to prefer respect over affection, influence over comfort, strength over applause. Let others chase love and drown in disappointment when it turns cold. You will chase control, and in doing so, you will not be moved by the betrayal of friends or the indifference of crowds. When they withdraw their affection, your foundation will not shake, because it was never built upon their unstable loyalty. Power also has another advantage: it can purchase affection when needed. But affection cannot purchase power. A wealthy man, a strong leader, a disciplined mind, these command loyalty whether true or false. Those who cling to power can always surround themselves with admirers, whether they deserve it or not. But those who cling to affection can never manufacture power, no matter how deeply they are loved. The man who is adored but powerless is a decoration, not a force. The man who is powerful but unloved is still unshakable, for his strength speaks louder than sentiment. When you understand this, you will stop asking, "Do they love me?" and start asking, "Do they respect me? Do they need me? Do they depend on me?" These are the true foundations of stability. Affection is fragile because it is born of desire. Power is lasting because it is born of necessity. The world may not love you, but if it requires you, it cannot touch you. The crowd may not embrace you, but if you hold what they need, they will return to your side. This is why the pursuit of affection makes men weak, while the pursuit of power makes them untouchable. Affection dies in silence the moment you no longer serve its purpose. Power endures because it forces acknowledgement, and when nothing and nobody can deny your strength, then nothing and nobody can affect you. There is a weapon more powerful than anger, sharper than insult, and more devastating than retaliation. It is silence. It is stillness. It is the cold distance that denies your enemies the satisfaction of seeing you bleed. Most men are easily provoked. They are slaves to reaction. Insult them, and they rush to defend themselves. Mock them, and they explode with rage. Betray them, and they fall apart in public displays of weakness. This is why they remain at the mercy of others, because their emotions are strings that anyone can pull. But you must not be like them. You must learn the art of cold distance, and in doing so, you will become untouchable. When men strike at you, what they seek is not always your ruin. More often, they seek your reaction. They want to see your pride wounded, your voice raised, your composure shattered. They want to confirm that they hold power over your spirit. If you react, you hand them victory. But if you remain silent, if you keep your face as still as stone, if you give them nothing, then it is they who feel powerless. They shout into the air, and their words vanish unanswered. They expect to control you, but they find only emptiness staring back. That emptiness is more terrifying than any outburst, because it reveals that you are beyond their reach. This cold distance is not weakness, it is mastery. It requires greater strength to remain still than to strike back. A fool screams when insulted. A weakling begs when abandoned. But a ruler, a strategist, a man who commands himself, he does not react in haste. He understands that silence is a weapon and patience a strategy. By refusing to answer in the moment, he dictates the terms of every conflict. The enemy speaks when he allows it. The enemy receives attention when he decides. The enemy matters only if he chooses to grant them importance. There is another truth hidden here. Reaction is costly. Every outburst drains your energy. Every heated word exposes your mind. Every emotional display reveals your weakness. But cold distance preserves your strength. It keeps your enemies guessing. It forces them into restlessness. It makes them wonder whether their strike landed at all. And in their confusion, they grow reckless, desperate, vulnerable. You, meanwhile, remain calm, conserving your strength, striking only when it serves you, not when they demand it. Consider the ruler who is insulted before his court. If he shouts, the insult gains weight. If he punishes immediately, it appears he was truly wounded. But if he simply stares, offering nothing, his composure becomes more frightening than any retaliation. The court whispers, if such words cannot move him, what can? His power grows not from what he did, but from what he refused to do. Cold distance makes men fear you, for it denies them the evidence they seek, proof of your weakness. This art extends beyond enemies. Even with allies, even with lovers, even with friends, you must know when to employ silence. When you are too available, too eager, too reactive, they begin to take you for granted. But when you hold back, when you remain scarce, when you offer silence instead of constant response, you increase your value. Men desire what they cannot easily reach. Women respect what does not always bend. Friends admire the one who does not beg for attention. Cold distance makes others pursue you, while reaction makes you chase them. You must train yourself to endure discomfort. The urge to respond, to justify, to explain, to retaliate, it will burn inside you. But you must suffocate it. Every time you resist, you strengthen the fortress of your spirit. Every time you remain still when provoked, you teach the world that you cannot be moved like ordinary men. And soon, they will stop trying. They will learn that their words, their rejections, their betrayals have no hold over you. They will waste their strength shouting into silence while you grow stronger in stillness. Cold distance is the mark of discipline, and discipline is the root of invulnerability. If nothing can provoke you into reaction, then nothing can control you. If you answer only when it serves your purpose, then you are the master of every exchange. And if you can sit in silence while the world rages against you, then you have achieved a power that most men never will. The power of being untouchable, not through force, but through restraint. The reason most men are shaken by every insult, every betrayal, every rejection, is because they are unanchored. They drift upon the waters of life without a fixed destination, tossed about by every wave, carried away by every current. When someone mocks them, they sink into despair. When someone rejects them, they lose all sense of worth. When fortune turns against them, they collapse entirely, because they have nothing greater than themselves to hold on to. But the man who has anchored his soul to a higher goal cannot be broken so easily, for he is tied to something beyond the reach of petty wounds. Understand this: a man without a purpose is weak, because he allows others to decide the meaning of his life. He looks for validation in their affection, for significance in their approval, for security in their presence. He becomes fragile, because when they withdraw their love or scorn his efforts, his identity shatters. He has built himself on sand, and the tide of public opinion washes him away. But a man who is bound to a higher goal stands like a tower. He is not moved by the laughter of fools, nor by the whispers of envious men, nor by the betrayals of false allies. His eyes remain fixed on his destination, and all else becomes noise. What is this higher goal? It can take many forms. For one, it may be the pursuit of knowledge so vast that the ridicule of others becomes irrelevant. For another, it may be the accumulation of wealth and power so immense that the betrayals of friends are nothing more than temporary inconveniences. For another still, it may be glory, the determination to leave a name engraved upon history, so that the hatred of the present generation is but a small price for eternal remembrance. The form matters less than the magnitude. What matters is that the goal is larger than your daily wounds, stronger than your fleeting emotions, greater than the fragile affections of those around you. When you live without such an aim, you are like a man walking blindfolded through a marketplace. Every shout, every insult, every distraction pulls you one way or another. You respond to every noise, you turn at every touch, and in the end, you go nowhere. But when you are anchored to a higher goal, you move with direction. The same voices may shout, the same hands may tug, but they do not sway you. You hear them, you feel them, yet you march forward unshaken because you know where you are going. This anchoring also changes how you perceive hardship. To the unanchored man, hardship is suffering without purpose. He is crushed by rejection, for it feels like the end. He is devastated by betrayal, for it feels like total loss. But the anchored man views these wounds as fuel. He sees rejection as redirection toward his purpose. He interprets betrayal as proof of the weakness of others, not himself. He treats insult as noise beneath the march of his greater aim. Hardship for him becomes a step on the staircase toward his destiny, not a stone that drags him down. Think of the general on campaign. If his goal is to win the affection of his soldiers, then their complaints and murmurs will shake his confidence. But if his goal is the conquest of territory, the expansion of his power, the solidification of his rule, then their temporary discontent is insignificant. His vision is too large to be clouded by their moods. Or consider the philosopher. If his purpose is simply to be admired by his peers, then the mockery of rivals will destroy him. But if his purpose is to uncover truths that will outlast his lifetime, then their mockery is but a buzzing fly against the vastness of his work. You must choose your own anchor, and it must be something beyond comfort, beyond approval, beyond daily pleasure. Pleasure fades, approval changes, comfort weakens. A higher goal endures. It is what keeps you steady when all else collapses. It is what allows you to walk through storms without breaking stride. Without it, every insult becomes an injury. With it, every injury becomes meaningless in comparison. This anchor also gives you clarity in decisions. When you are guided by affection, you hesitate, you compromise, you bend in fear of losing others. But when you are guided by purpose, your path is straight. Betrayal cannot sway you because it is already accounted for. Rejection cannot cripple you because you were never chasing acceptance. Affection cannot seduce you because you know it is temporary. You are not ruled by the whims of the world. You are ruled by the gravity of your goal. Most men drift because they are afraid to choose such a goal. They fear its demands. They prefer to live from day to day, from compliment to compliment, from small desire to small desire. But this is why they remain weak, forever vulnerable to the moods of others. Do not be like them. Choose something greater, something vast, something that requires your discipline, your sacrifice, your patience. When you do, every insult shrinks, every betrayal loses its poison, every rejection becomes trivial, because they are all too small to stand against the immensity of your anchor. When your life is tied to a higher purpose, you are no longer shaken by the winds of circumstance. You may bend for a moment, but you do not break. You may stumble, but you do not fall. You are pulled forward, always, by the gravity of what you are building, of what you are becoming, of what you are determined to leave behind. This is why the man with an anchor cannot be controlled by others. His meaning does not come from them. His strength does not depend on them. His worth is not decided by their approval. He is bound to something larger, and therefore, he is untouchable. You have now seen the path to becoming untouchable. It is not found in the comfort of affection, nor in the fleeting warmth of approval, but in the discipline of the mind and the mastery of the self. You must detach from both praise and blame, for they are chains disguised as gifts. You must train your eyes to pierce through masks and see the motives that truly move men. You must command your inner dialogue, for it is the voice that either destroys you or makes you unshakable. You must value power above affection, for affection vanishes when it no longer benefits the one who gives it. You must learn the art of cold distance, for silence and stillness are the weapons that rob your enemies of their power. And above all, you must anchor yourself to a higher goal, something greater than comfort, greater than love, greater than the fragile loyalty of men, so that every betrayal, every insult, every rejection becomes insignificant before the immensity of your purpose. When you live this way, nothing can move you. Not the scorn of the mob, not the treachery of allies, not the storms of fortune. You will walk through fire and remain untouched, because your spirit will be bound to something beyond the reach of ordinary men. And in that, you will discover the only true freedom, the freedom of being untouchable.